seconds. Always wrap the gavel. Okay, we'll call to order the March 26, 2015 regular meeting of the Woodland Park Planning Commission. So we'll call to order and roll call, please.
Thank you. Mr. DeVoe, Mr. Watson.
Here.
Ms. Mattingly. Here. Mr. Penland.
Here.
Ms. Probst.
Here.
Mr. Rollinger.
Here.
Mr. Schrader. And Mr. Stannard. Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, we do have a quorum this evening with 5 members present.
Good. Okay, would you stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you've read the minutes, does anybody have any changes or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are approved. We'll move now to requests and or public hearings, and we will address the CUP 15-001 for 105, 107, 109, and 111 South Boundary Street mixed-use property. Request for approval of a conditional use permit to use the existing structures for 2 residential dwellings and 2 large bays for the possibility of auto repair, contractor services, warehouse distribution, and storage located at 105, 107, 109, and 111 South Boundary Street, Woodland Park, Colorado. The applicant is the owner, Court Wall, and I believe we have an amendment to that.
We do, Mr. Chairman.
Probably should be read into the amendment that it would also include appliance repair and household improvement uses.
And I'll get into that as part of my presentation.
Okay. Laura?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Laura Pellegrino. I'm the city planner for the City of Woodland Park. This is an application for the CUP number 15-001 for Mr. Court Wall. Mr. Court Wall is the applicant and the property owner, and he is here tonight and is available to answer any questions the planning commissioners might have. This is an application with an address of 105, 107, 109, and 111 South Boundary Street. 105 and 107 are the addresses for the 2 residences that are on the property. 109 and 111 South Boundary Street are the addresses for each bay of the commercial building. This is part of Block 6 Foster's addition to the City of Manitou, now the City of Woodland Park, in drawer 15, card 711A of the Teller County Clerk and Recorder's Office. The property itself is 0.28 acres in size, approximately 12,300 square feet in size. Floor space captures approximately 1,414 square feet, of which that is the residential portion. So 1,414 square feet is the residential portion of the 2 residences, and 3,128 square feet is the gross commercial square footage of the commercial building that is on this property. It is within the community commercial, the CC zone district of the City of Woodland Park, and the applicant has applied for a few various different mix of uses on this property, and I'll just list them now for the record. He is applying for E1, which is appliance repair and household improvements for inside storage. He's applying for section F4, which is auto repair, which does allow for some outside storage. He's applying for section G1, which is contractor and construction services, which does allow for some outside storage. He's also applying for section N1, which is 2 single-family residential dwelling units. He's applying for V1, which is wholesale trade and distribution with no outside storage allowed with that use. And he's applying also for V2, commercial warehousing and storage. The I'm going to go through a few maps just to give you your general bearings on this site. Here is a map of the city of Woodland Park. The pink boundaries are the city boundaries. And what you can see is the blue dot is the actual site, and it is, as you can see, just a little bit northeast of the highway and a little bit east of the downtown area, but it is primarily in the downtown area. This is a general map of the a 2009 aerial of the area, the neighborhood that this site is in. Again, you can see the blue dot showing the site itself right here. This is Boundary Street going north-south. This is Midland Avenue, which is the nearest cross street going east-west. You can see here this is the high school, and of course the elementary school right next to it. And this subdivision here is Thunderbird Estates, and this is the highway going right through town. This is a closer view of the site. The site is in this teal boundary that you can see right here. And what this map shows is some of the general existing and surrounding uses on the site. So for instance, to the north is a property owned by Carl Anderson. It is currently being occupied as a single-family residence. It is being occupied currently. And Mr. Anderson is in the audience tonight if you did want to ask him any questions as well. Immediately to the east of this site is a vacant single-family dwelling. It is boarded up. I'm not sure how long it has been boarded up, but there are also 4 sheds going straight down from that, and I don't believe they're being used for any purpose at this time. Immediately south and a little bit east of the site is the Colorado Forest Service office, which site has an entrance both off of Boundary and Baldwin on the east side here. Sort of kitty corner to the site is the CERC Physical Therapy building right here. And then immediately north and west of the site is an occupied single-family dwelling on that property. So that gives you an idea of some of the neighborhood and commercial uses that are actually occurring on the site right now. This is a zoning map, and what you can see is it's a little hard to read, and I'll have to use a different color next time, but this is the site right here, this rectangle that is circled in red. Immediately to the west of this site in this blue color is the commercial business district, or is that central business district? Central business district. I'm still learning my zone districts. And that is this light blue immediately to the west of the site. To the north, east, and south of the site is the community, the CC zone district, which is the same zone district this property is zoned for. And then this is the high school, which is public, semi-public land. So that is the surrounding zoning in this area. Here are some photos of the site based on a site inspection earlier this week, actually. So here's a picture of the overall site coming from Boundary Street. And actually, I'm standing on the northwest corner of the site on Boundary Street, looking into the site, looking southeast. And you can see the first residence right here, which is currently occupied. The second residence located right here, which is currently vacant. And then you can see the southern portion of this commercial building, and this blue roof in the back is also part of that commercial building. So that kind of gives you the overall site and the look of it. This is a direct view looking straight east from Boundary Street to the commercial building. You can see the 2 bays, and you can see where the different addresses and the entrances are for these 2 portions of this part of the commercial building. And again, there's another part of the commercial building you can't see that's attached and a little bit behind this residence right here. This is a streetscape from the site, pretty much standing in front of the commercial building on Boundary Street, looking north on Boundary Street. It gives you kind of an idea of what the site does look like, what the neighborhood looks like in this area, and the type of improvements and infrastructure you'll see in this neighborhood. This was the site plan that was submitted with the application, and this is the most recent revised site plan. It was recently revised just yesterday, as a matter of fact. What this shows is that the black heavy line is the site boundary, the lot boundary actually, and you'll see really that all it depicts is the current situation and the existing buildings. So to the north is a single-family residence, 649 square feet. Again, this is the one that is currently occupied. And it was built in around 1983. The residence immediately to the south of it is 765 square feet approximately, and it was built in about 1947. And then just behind, you'll see there's the storage and warehouse building immediately behind that second single-family residence. And then here is the auto repair, the warehouse, the one-story commercial building with the two bays that exists. What this site plan shows also is that the architect has done a calculation of usable square footages. Those are the measurements that he used to base the parking calculations on. And what they did with this application, because they're using existing buildings, no new construction is occurring and no substantial improvements are proposed with this application. The parking calculations show you scenarios based on if you rent it or lease it to a certain type of use, like auto repair, this is how many parking spaces you would need. If you were to rent it or lease it as a warehouse, these are the type of parking spaces you would have to provide. What he's done is showed a scenario just based on fitting parking spaces into the site of 14 parking spaces total. 4 of those parking spaces, the 4 that are clustered around the single-family residence, are dedicated for the residential structures. 2 parking spaces per residential structures are required according to the municipal code. The rest of these parking spaces down in here, the 10 of them, including 1 handicap parking space, would be devoted for the commercial operation. Whatever leasee the property owner finds for that space. At one time, and in the original staff report that was mailed out to the planning commissioner, staff had asked for some revisions to this site plan. All those revisions were made, and all those notes are incorporated into this site plan. And so you'll see that the revised recommended motion does not include any revisions to this site plan. They did clean it up and they added all the notes that staff was recommending. And then they revised their parking layout. So what you see in the red bubbles are some encroachments that staff noticed when we were doing the review and analysis of this application. So for instance, if you go to the bubble to the north, what we're seeing is that single-story, single-family dwelling and that propane tank encroach into the setbacks, this northern setback, and also that the building itself, the northern boundary of that single-family residence, encroaches into the next property, Carl Anderson's property actually, as does the current propane tank. The applicant has proposed and is proposing to remove that propane tank and move it back onto his lot at this time, and would also be looking at removing it altogether in the future when he has the opportunity. So what those bubbles show, and then if you look along the eastern, the southeastern, and the southern boundary, that red bubble indicates an encroachment of that fence line from the Colorado Forest Service. Now, that is the Forest Service fence, and they are the ones that put it up. That's a 6-foot-high opaque wood fence that is screening really for the Forest Service, and the applicant contends that it's not his fence, it's the Forest Service fence, and so maybe that is not an encroachment. It's just certainly not on the property line. So the other encroachment is this encroachment on the west, which is next to the single-family residence, the second single-family residence. It is a slight encroachment of the chain link fence into the boundary street right-of-way. Our Utilities and Public Works Department has looked at this, and because the encroachment is so minor and inconsequential, they really have no concerns with it. We did put a note on the site plan that states that if Public Works ever needs to get into this area and we need to take the fence down, the applicant cannot replace the fence in the same place so that it encroaches. It has to be out of the encroachment. So that's what those red bubbles are on this site plan. Staff has done a complete review and analysis of the conditional use permit application. It is important to note that there is no new construction or no substantial improvements proposed with any of this application. The application is simply to approve uses through a conditional use permit as proposed by the applicant so that he can increase his flexibility to lease this site, which is currently, the commercial portion is currently vacant, so that he can lease it to interested parties. Code review, staff looked at section 1821, the CC district, and found no concerns. All of the conditional uses applied for by this applicant are uses that can be conditional uses in the CC zone district if applied and if it meets all of the requirements. The height, the building heights comply. The yards, we've already talked a little bit about the setbacks and encroachments into the yards of existing buildings. And again, because these buildings are existing and there are no substantial improvements, they are considered legal conforming buildings, and they are allowed to continue to exist in their legal non-conforming state. So those, the frontage meets the requirements of the code. Parking would meet the requirements of the code, and the applicant is aware that the parking limitations may limit his new tenant, whoever that may be. The fencing, there are no requirements for fencing. Signs, he will have to comply with the sign code for any sign that he proposes, and that would include a sign permit. There's no requirements for any upgrades to sidewalks, nor are there any requirements for upgrades to the landscaping that exists on the site. He does meet the requirements for open space, which is 25% minimum open space on this site, and the lawn areas associated with both of the residences conform to that requirement. Referrals for this application were sent to various internal agencies such as the Woodland Park Utilities Department, the Public Works Department, and the Field Inspector. We also sent out a referral to the Northeast Teller County Fire Protection District, to IREA Black Hills, Baja Cable, and CenturyLink. The only response we received back in writing was from IREA. A copy of that response was included in the staff report, and really it was just a comment stating that any concerns that they have shall be maintained for electrical service, for the provision of electrical service. Public notices for tonight's meeting and the application were mailed to adjacent property owners within 150 feet of this site. A poster has been posted on the site in compliance with the code requirements, and we did publish in the Pikes Peak Courier for this hearing tonight. Staff received no public comment on any of this application. So staff did finally review the application for compliance with the conditional use standards in section 1857-040 A and B of the municipal code. There are 11 conditional use permit standards that apply. Staff did find conformance with all 11, and they are in brief that staff found a demonstrated need for this building to occur with the types of uses that the applicant is proposing. And there is demonstrated evidence for this need based on previous successful occupancy by similar type businesses in the past. Staff finds no endangerment to the public health and safety and welfare if the proposed uses were approved. Staff finds no detriment to property values or no effect to property values based on the existence of this site and these buildings in their current configuration. Staff finds that it harmonizes with the character of the existing neighborhood and the surrounding properties and the surrounding businesses, that it complies with the city plan in at least 3 areas with respect to 3 guiding policies. Staff finds that it complies with the Woodland Park's enhancement of the identity of the city of Woodland Park by providing occupancy and opportunities for businesses to locate in a currently vacant building. And that the applicant intends to continue with the ongoing maintenance of this building so that it will not become obsolete. Another guiding principle is that this application conforms with and complies with is the sustenance of the city of Woodland Park's economic diversity and vitality. And again, by satisfying the market demand for a mixture of uses, including small, affordable residential housing units on this site, the economic vitality is sustained in Woodland Park, and also finding that the last guiding principle, that it would strengthen downtown as a community resource, again by providing a diverse assortment of potential businesses to be able to locate in this area. So staff does find compliance with the city plan. Staff has reviewed this application with all pertinent and applicable regulations in the municipal code and does find compliance, and we did go over the zoning regulations, for example. The applicant did do a traffic study showing that only 3 additional average vehicle trips would be produced given the proposed uses that he had submitted. Staff finds this fairly minor increase in vehicle traffic. The city engineer has reviewed the traffic report, and there's no concern with respect to this additional traffic being able to, the existing streets being able to support this additional traffic. Drainage, and again, it was reviewed by the city engineer, no concerns with drainage. Drainage is sheeting off the existing, as it has historically, off the asphalt onto the road and then into the drainage system that's existing adjacent to the road. Staff finds that water, sewer, and wastewater are available and adequately accounted for. It is connected to city water and city sewer, and the applicant is intending to dispose of the waste on site. Hazards, staff finds no hazards with this proposal, and architectural design, as the applicant is not proposing any substantial improvements, that really does not apply in this case. And what we see is existing. So staff does find substantial compliance with all the standards and does recommend approval of the uses proposed by the applicant with 3 conditions. And these conditions are on the addendum to the staff report. So for the first condition is that the application and public hearing statements made by the applicant in both the application and the public hearing are binding. Second is that there shall be no commercial outdoor storage on the residential lawn areas or in the front yard of this site. Outside storage, if any, and that will depend on the tenants, shall be screened from public view. And then finally, the third condition, inspection for and installation of the backflow prevention device for the commercial building is required. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Any questions?
Why don't we hold questions for you until we've heard the applicant's presentation,
Thank you.
and we'll hit you all at the same time. That is, if the applicant wants to make a presentation.
I don't have anything to say. So,
Court, do you want to just come up and say that?
Just state your name and address, and if you don't have anything to say, tell us.
my name's Court Wall. I live at 119 Circle Drive, Woodland Park. I think Laura's pretty much said everything that needs to be said. And
Mr. Wall, I did have one question, simple question, and possibly I didn't find the answer as I should have in all these materials. Can Bay 1 and Bay 2 be separated? Is there a wall or?
there is a party wall in between the 2 units, and each separate space has its own toilet, sink, and furnace. So it has already been divided from the beginning. There's 2 separate doors and 2 garage doors, and with 1 party wall down the center.
But if you had a single tenant who wanted to use all roughly 3,000 square feet, you could accommodate that tenant.
There is a door in between all 3 buildings that go into each building that can be locked or blocked off, depending if it was to be rented to 1 person or 2 or 3. So,
Great, thank you.
sure.
So you could rent out each bay?
Individually.
Yes, individually, that's my plans, and not rent the 2 of them together.
I have a couple of questions, but probably for Laura. The parking lot, I mean, I see that the drive coming in is asphalt, is an asphalt driveway. What about the parking spaces? What material is that going to be?
Those are all paved.
It's all paved?
All asphalt, even
Okay.
the portion that is next to the single-family residence.
Okay, and I don't see that there's a designated area for snow removal. Where
There
would-
isn't. They were proposing to put the snow removal into any of the parking spots,
But
and
not the handicap.
but not by handicap.
Can we specify that?
We can. We can add that
Thank
as
you.
a
I would like that
clarification.
specified. And then, the only other question, I mean, I think it's great what you're doing, Court. I mean, we have a need, obviously, and I think it's awesome. The one concern that I had was the close proximity to the 2 houses, the 2 dwelling structures, versus the auto repair, whatever it's going to be. Is that something that's going to be monitored so that it wouldn't affect those single-family dwellings? I mean, obviously, we don't want something in that warehouse or the bays or something that are going to adversely affect those two residences.
Are you thinking noise, perhaps?
Noise and pollution. Because this is really open-ended, what may be in those buildings, and yet,
It will be up to the landlord, the owner, for court to disclose the uses to his tenants, and that they will be, signing agreements and be fully aware of what the uses are of the property.
and what about the one residence that's already occupied?
As far as,
Well, yeah, a complaint of what type of business you may put in there. What's going to protect that resident? Will they be able to move without notice, or, I mean, we don't want
Sure.
to see them.
I don't plan on renting it to somebody that's gonna, it's gonna fall within those 11 guidelines, those bullet points that I've been talking to Sally and Laura about since we started this, about the environmental impact, pollution, noise, all the above. So,
The structure that is already rented, that is currently occupied,
yes,
are they aware of what you're planning on doing? Is it a concern for them?
no.
Well, I mean, that was part of, they were notified, I'm sure, right? And were they notified as being within 150 feet and saw the sign, so wouldn't they follow
No.
them?
No.
No, because they're on the property.
They
They're
would
on
see
the-
the sign.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and
So
as a matter of
they-
fact, staff did even talk to the
Oh, good.
The tenants.
yeah, when we were out doing a site inspections, they do know what's going on.
Okay. I just, if I had kids and all of a sudden I knew that there was gonna be an auto repair shop, 50 feet from my house, I might be a little concerned. So, okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Is that the larger of the two single families that's rented, or is it the smaller?
The smaller one.
The small one.
So it's the one on the north
It's this.
that encroaches?
This one.
Yeah, right.
Used to be the dog groomers.
Oh,
Any other questions?
Yeah, in a situation like this, I would have a normal concern of the neighbors, commercial and residential neighbors, but it sounds like there was no concerns from any of the neighbors, so that is not a problem, I guess.
Well, we may be hearing that. Okay, if there are no more further questions of either the
Okay.
city or the applicant, we'll open it up for public comment. So we have people that signed up. Have one. Carl Anderson, come up and state your name and address and
I am Carl Anderson, and I own 101 Boundary. And actually, Court and I have discussed the uses he's planning on, and I do support him and hope that you grant him his variances. Any
Okay.
questions?
No, that was easy.
Okay. Let's proceed.
I'm sure you appreciate
Thank you.
the support.
what a great neighbor.
Huh? Okay, public comments closed. No rebuttals, I assume. Any final questions from the commission?
I think it's a great use for this particular area. Again, my only concern is the snow removal not going into the handicap parking. Sorry.
Is that an additional condition?
A condition,
Yes.
do we make that a condition, an additional
We certainly
condition?
can, yeah.
Yes.
So we can simply state that snow storage shall not occur within the handicap parking stall.
And I just note that he does have ample parking, the way that Mr. Langley showed it, so that there is an ability to use the parking stalls for snow storage.
If you drive through the shopping, everybody puts snow in the handicap parking, and that needs not to happen. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, any further comments or questions?
I would make a motion to approve if there's no questions. Would
Second.
Okay, Motion has been made. Second?
I'll second it.
So the motion passes.
Yep. I'll do roll call. Watson,
Yes?
Mattingly,
Yes.
Penland,
Yes.
Probst,
Yes.
and Rollinger.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, and this case will move forward to the city council on first reading April 2nd, and then the public hearing on April 16th.
Excellent. Good luck in your
Good
new
luck, Court.
adventure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have anybody in line to
rent the place.
rent the places?
We've had several, but we've had to come to this meeting and get this figured out before.
Yeah. Okay, good. Good.
So thank you for considering this.
Okay. Well, good luck to you.
Okay.
Okay, that concludes the cases. Chairman's report, nothing. Any commissioners have anything to report? No? Sally?
Just a couple of things. On your desk is the February monthly report from the Planning and Building Department. And we did 32 building permits in February, year-to-date 77. So, and activity has really picked up in the last month. We'll have those statistics for you at the next meeting. And then lastly, I wanted to let you all know about a very special presentation that we have scheduled with the state demographer. And Elizabeth Garner is coming down to do a presentation to the general public, business owners, residents, to update the demographics for Teller County and for Woodland Park. She was down here a few years ago and did an excellent presentation that had lots of good information. So we're excited to have her coming again. That will be on Wednesday, April 15th, in this room from 4 to 5. So hopefully you can spread the word and join us on tax day and hear the state demographer speak.
If you haven't had the opportunity to do this, it's a really, really interesting
Excellent.
presentation.
And it's
Excellent.
open to the public.
Yes,
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yes,
Yeah,
and
it
it's
was
free,
really- yeah.
and we'll have cookies and coffee.
Is that Sally's famous
We have
cookies?
cookies and coffee?
And with that, we're...
Next meeting, do we
Next-
have cases and?
We do not have cases for the next meeting, so we'll be canceling the April 9th meeting, but we'll probably meet at the end of April, even if we just do a work session. That's all.
I'd like to say congratulations on your 30 years. I missed that.
Oh, thank you.
That's,
Yeah.
That's quite the
Yeah,
achievement.
that's right.
Yes, very cool.
It was
have
a
nice
very
thing
nice
for 'em on
surprise.
At the council meeting.
Yeah,
It was.
Thank you.
It was. It was fun.
Yeah, I wasn't able to make it, but I was excited to hear 30 years. Wow.
thank you.
Nice.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks.
Pretty good use.
Sally, do you want any of these
How do we do that?
drawings back
I know. But if nobody complains about what
for the council?
the area.